How's it going, guys? My name is Stone, and welcome back to these reviews, or welcome if it's your first time here. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of the strangest albums in the Beach Boys catalog, Smiley Smile. This was released in 1967 and would be the follow-up to one of the biggest and most influential albums of all time, Pet Sounds. This would also be released in the place of Smile, an album that was intended to surpass Pet Sounds both musically and lyrically, but of course, as we all know, due to the strife and pressure Brian had been going through at the time, it would later be shelved and be seen as one of the most legendary unreleased albums of all time. So go figure. Much of the material from Smile can be heard on here, though it is much more stripped down from any sort of avant-garde or progressive nature, as the album overall is very lo-fi and contains snippets of pop songs that really seem sewn together in a very strange way. This has also been reappraised by fans and critics over the last few years, or decades, I could say, uh, as it is seen to be a major influence in bedroom pop and ambient music, and is what I consider to be a very overlooked psych album from the 60s, especially coming out of 1967, which is quite possibly the biggest year for psychedelic music. I do think it's difficult to compare this to Pet Sounds, though both albums provide a very kaleidoscopic atmosphere. Smiley Smile's druggy quirkiness combined with such beautiful Beach Boy harmonies still make for a very entertaining listen that is great to unwind to, if you know what I mean. It opens with its lead single Heroes and Villains, a western themed rock opera that fits in as many movements as possible in just under 4 minutes. I love how complicated the vocal harmonies are and how much they affect each segment in the song. This was one of my favorites by them back when I was first listening to them, and I will admit though, out of the official completed versions of this track, this is probably my least favorite. Only because the way they edit it down, kind of, compared to the Smile version at least, it's just not as fulfilling and nowhere near as bombastic, I'd say. But I still enjoy this. Like, it's nice to have this song opening the album, in my opinion. We then get into the more low-key psychedelic stuff, with the track Vegetables being a very melodic and engaging track that doesn't take itself too seriously. I enjoy the lyrical humor quite a bit, and I like how they use the sound of someone chewing on vegetables as a way of percussion. Again, if I had to choose between this and the Smile version, I'd still probably pick the Smile one, but that doesn't mean I don't like this one, because I think the mood that this version of Vegetables creates fits perfectly on this album. This is followed by another reworking of a Smile track, Fall Breaks Back to Winter. This is a reworking of The Elements of Fire, aka Mrs. O'Leary's Cow. This version of the song is very tame compared to its original, but still carries an uneasy atmosphere that I think, in the context of this album, works perfectly, even if there is not much happening throughout it. We then get to She's Going Bald, a track that takes the melody of He Gives Speeches and expands upon it even more with some very unusual arrangements, most notably with the vocals getting higher in pitch and then that spoken word bit in the middle. This is by no means a high shelf Beach Boys track, but I still enjoy the experimentation of it, and I like how they stitched all these little snippets of a song into one. We conclude side one on what's probably my favorite song on side one, or at least besides Heroes and Villains, Little Pad. I love just the mellow feel that this song has, which is mostly derived from its harmonies and ukulele. And this is definitely one of those songs you could listen to on your backyard or on the beach on a nice summer day. And, I don't know, just enjoy its elements of sunshine pop, which I really like. And it closes side one on a really strong note, I'd say. Side two then opens on one of the most defining Beach Boys songs, Good Vibrations. And I mean, what can I say that already hasn't been said about this song? Everything about it is just fantastic. The vocals are so incredible and quite possibly the best. And then the musicianship behind the vocals is just as phenomenal, as it still shows Brian at his peak as a songwriter, in my opinion, or at least him trying to really progress and go experiment as much as he can in the studio. And I definitely would say that this track is a progressive pop masterpiece that I could still enjoy listening to after many, many listens. Sure, it has burned out a little on me, but when it hits, it still hits. And although this and Heroes and Villains kind of stick out from the rest of the songs in Smiley Smile, I still think it's nice to have them on an album, and I don't think they contrast the overall mood of this record too much. Following this is the almost a cappella song With Me Tonight, which is a track that relies heavily on the harmonies between Brian and everyone else, and I think is backed by what I think is an organ, but I'm not too sure. The way the band can use their vocals as an instrument on a track like this really proves how they can provide a psychedelic quality with nothing but their voices. And with songs later on down the road, like I don't know, like something like Friends or All I Wanna Do, those are really great examples as well of just how their voices are so magical and how they, I don't know, have to me at least, a psychedelic quality to them, which I enjoy. After this song is another big favorite of mine, Wind Chimes. This is a very psychedelic and a very lo-fi version of it, which I absolutely adore. And the production on it is just so crisp, and all the effects added to the singing and all the extra instrumentation makes for a very underrated psych rock song. Like, this song should get more discussion, I guess, when talking about like top psychedelic rock song from 1967, because this and then one I'll talk about later really exemplify that like heavy feeling of being on something. Not like I know, but you know. It's a song, like I said, I definitely recommend checking out if you're interested in the overall mood of the song, because for me, this and another track really represent that. This is followed by the song Getting Hungry, which is currently playing, which is a little more rocking and structured than everything else in the album. And I'm not too crazy about the song. It's nothing as good as what we've heard so far, but I do admire it for what it is, and I do like the bridge a lot, even if it's like, what, 5 seconds? It feels like it just goes back like that, goes straight back to the chorus, but I don't think it strays too far from the whimsical sound of this record, so I give it that. We then get to the second song I mentioned earlier that I'd say is another favorite of mine and is overlooked often, the track Wonderful. And this version of the track is just dipped in psychedelia with Carl's whispering vocals, the gentle piano being used, and the sounds of people talking in the background. It just creates such a surreal experience that can really, like I said, make your head feel heavy if you're on, or if you're feeling the right kind of way. I think I winked like 3 times so far. I think I'm done. But you get what I'm saying. To get high. But yeah, then the album closes on the 1-minute outro. This is basically one chorus being played over and over until the song just fades out. And I do enjoy the song and its simplicity, but a part of me, writing for this review, but I'm surprised that they didn't want to use another Smile outtake to close this album on, because this does feel a bit lackluster. It does fit the mood of this record. Like, I think it would have been, and I don't know. It's only a minute long, so it's kind of tough. Like, I don't think it deserves not to be on the album, but it would have been cool to have a song like "Can't Wait Too Long" to close the album out, or it's just something else, I suppose. But even with that conclusion, I think Smiley Smile deserves all the reappraisal it gets, and it's aged very well in my opinion, both in production and songwriting. I will admit, when I first heard this album, I wasn't a big fan of it, especially thinking I was going to hear a part 2 to Pet Sounds, but as I've gotten into more psychedelic music over the last few years, I've grown to really appreciate it. And I'll be honest too, this is by no means like a top 5 or maybe even a top 10 Beach Boys album for me. But that just shows how many great albums the Beach Boys have, because they have a lot of albums, and some stinkers, but for the most part, really good stuff. And I highly recommend listening to this album if you haven't already. And yeah, if you've been following my channel, you like the psych stuff, check this album out. It's something else. I'll go real quick, because I don't know how much time, but this is like an analog pressing I have of it. I don't know if you can see it. It's like an audiophile version. It's very nice because once I get a better sound system, it'll be worth having this version of the record because it's definitely like I said, it has great production. It just sounds super good on nice vinyl. So yeah. Well, I also gotta mention my 3 songs. My top 3 songs are Wonderful, Good Vibrations, and Wind Chimes. But if I replace Good Vibrations, it would be Little Pad. So yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to get some discussion going in the comments. Mention your top 3 songs below, and I'll be glad to respond. Alright, take care, bye.